serviced accommodation.
It's like a hotel, but without having to have staff.
Serviced accommodation is a way of renting a property out and getting maximum rent. And what you do, you can rent your house out and you can put your house, you can list it on Airbnb and Booking.com, and then people come and they'll stay for 1 night, 2 nights, 2 weeks.
Which means that this guy isn't actually just one guy, right? This guy is loads and loads and loads and loads of different people that are just renting the property for rather than 6 months, 12 months, or 1 day.
They might pay £100 a night.
Some of our students as well that have gone on to do service accommodation are really amazed at how easy it really is.
You don't really do the work because you're going to just advertise it on places like Booking.com, Airbnb, Trivago, Late Rooms, all those websites.
You can do something called rent to serviced accommodation, which is when you rent a house, you pay Bobby £600 a month, but then you turn the house into a serviced accommodation house and you keep all the difference.
I wanted to put as little money as possible down into a property and tied up, but with the highest cash flow.
Well, the beautiful thing is that it works well if you've got money, if you haven't got money.
So you didn't have a big stash of money that you've been buying properties with?
No, I haven't actually bought any properties. So all the money I currently make is not from property I own myself, but I control all those properties.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How much of your own money have you had to put down to get all these rent-to-rent properties and serviced accommodations?
About 8,500.
I did when I first tried it was one of my apartments, when it became vacant, I was like, right, let's give it a crack on this apartment.
And then you were like, my goodness, I'm making loads of money.
Yeah. It's
working really well. How much do you get per night for that one?
That one, it varies a little bit, but it's not great, it's about 80 quid.
80 quid. And what kind of occupancy rate can you expect for serviced accommodations generally?
National average is really high. It's around about 80%, I think it's 83.6.
This is going to be a what? A what? An asset. And the definition of an asset is something that puts money in your back pocket. You need to make sure that you buy one in the correct area. Okay, you want to make sure you buy it in the correct area because it's very important that your property rents out. So I suppose the first thing you've got to ask yourself is, who are the people that are staying in service accommodation apartments? And whoever they are, I want to target them. Does that make sense, yes? What I've found is pretty much any big city centre, especially if it's got tourist attractions, lots of businesses, big industrial parks, things like that, work really, really well.
It doesn't have to be on a beach, it doesn't have to be in a touristy area particularly. A city centre whereby there are jobs, there are people, will usually work for serviced accommodation. Lichfield works great. I think the best place in the UK is Edinburgh, followed by, I think it's Oxford and then Cambridge.
Oxford's got the highest occupancy rates in the UK, not in the UK, in England. Okay.
Birmingham's pretty good.
Birmingham's great. Birmingham's good because you know, we talked earlier about who are your market, and you've got obviously business people, and then you've got people that are travelling for work and stuff like that.
So what I would suggest to you guys is you just choose the nearest big city to where you live. Because who would prefer to go on a viewing that was 20 minutes away rather than 5 hours away? Once you've found one in the right area, and I mentioned this earlier, you need to be able to do what to the deal? Seal the deal. If you can seal the deal, you will start making money. If you can seal the deal. Systemize. Why do we like the word systemize? Okay, now we always talk in property about the difference between active income and passive income. Which is better? Passive, right? Everyone wants passive income, that's the goal. If you can systemize it, it makes it a lot easier to make that happen. Next, expectations. Okay, why are expectations so important? Oh, it's amazing! Rent-to-rent service accommodation, I'll take anything! And their expectations are here, when in reality, it's here. And it's important that you do your research and your expectations are set correctly and you do not get carried away. We use formulas, not feelings.
We always speak to a company called Avivo. They rent out our serviced accommodation. They put us on Booking.com. They put us on Airbnb. They'll also give you an idea of the demand and of the market. However, after speaking to Avivo and doing some market research in the area, we found that the hotels here are always fully booked. Avivo, our management company, they said that it would work well, so we're going to give it a try. This is the house, and you can actually see Blenheim Palace right here. Once you've got the right kind of property, you've got the right area, you need to make sure that when you're buying a serviced accommodation property, or even doing it as a rent-to-rent, that you have permission. So you need permission from the lease. If it's an apartment, you need to make sure that the leasehold does not forbid you from renting it out as serviced accommodation. So what you can do is you can rent the property or the apartment to a company, and you own the company, and then the company does it as you know, a serviced accommodation. But I really would recommend, there are things you can do, you can be creative, but always put your cards on the table and make sure that what you're doing is legal and above board.
And last is timing. January, for example, is a pretty dismal month. So if you have put all your little money that you've got into getting a deal that starts in January, and you're paying the rent, and you've had to furnish it and put all this stuff in, and then you don't get any bookings come in, it's not great if you're up against a budget. So it's important you know the timings, and you know the years, and you do a bit of research. What's the word? Research.
We're going to be renting out the 4 apartments that we've just bought, service accommodation. We've got a couple of other title splits that we're going to be doing a service accommodation. The castle, we're going to rent out a service accommodation. So what are the figures? Well, we're going to be paying for the whole house, 3 bedrooms, lovely kind of cottagey property. We're going to be paying £1,300 per month to the landlord. But the income that we're going to receive from this, I mean, it's looking like it's going to be about £200 per night. We'll be able to rent it out, and that's not per room. That's just, we're going to rent the whole house out, just as like a family cottage kind of thing. So £200 per night. We've worked on the basis after paying cleaners, paying all the booking fees, and also taking into account voids. We should be making around about £2,000 per month.
I guess with the essays, it was when we were calling the estate agents, and literally everyone said no apart from one. But then because we're now in with that one agent, that sort of helped us to get the sort of other deals that are coming up now.
Your hardest deal, I say this on the crash course, your hardest deal is always your
first one.
first.
For sure.
So the key is then to get in with estate agents.
Yeah.
How do you get in with estate agents?
I mean, I think you gotta get in there. You gotta build a relationship with the you know. And I hear that a lot on the courses here, and it's so true.
Yeah.
You really have got to build a relationship, build that credibility, and then obviously get in. You know, be really responsible in terms of how you treat the property, all of those sorts of things. As soon as they see it, they'll.
First deal's the hardest.
Yeah.
First deal's the hardest. When you get one, it's almost like a tap comes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And she literally said to us, she said, "Oh, there's a company similar to you that wants to do the same thing that you're doing, but I know you guys, I've got the relationship with you, etc."
That is the basic model of how this works. But what I said to you earlier was we need to spend quite a bit of time on this, because a lot of this stuff, as Samuel would say, is the XYZ. Yeah, this is the stuff down the line, what you've got going, you found a deal. First thing you need to be able to do is you need to know how to find a deal and how to see this. That's what we're going to go over today. Is that good? Yes. Amazing. Right, so, turn to the person next to give them a high five and say, I am learning a lot.
If you're thinking about service accommodation and you're interested, put your comments below, your questions below. Also come down to a crash course and you can pick Russell's brain. But as Russell said, just try it on a small scale, test it. I always say for everything, plan, do, review.